Hold on, audience. Okay, hold on, audience. Hold on, audience. Okay. Okay. Am I live? Yes, I'm live. Let me just make sure I'm in the right screen. This is going to be one of those wild shows. I'm actually in a remote. I'm out of town. I'm in Roseburg, Oregon. But I had to do a show. Especially if I'm claiming to be a happiness specialist. Let's see. Hold on a second. I'm working everything, working this phone. And I don't have my extra phone, so the audience on Zoom Vibe, not Zoom Vibe, Noom Vibe. I'm not going to be able to chat, but I will let you know. I will let you know to find the link for this. Let's see. Blog Talk Radio. Okay. Make sure everything is right. That's clicked. This is on. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, happiness specialist, inner peace practitioner, oracle, but most importantly, a student, ongoing student, always learning, always growing, always getting new information. I found this new NDA, this gentleman who experienced an NDA, and he's different than anyone that I've ever listened to. But this is going to be a show that, well, none of my shows are scripted, but this is just going to be, I had to, especially since I am the happiness specialist. What the hell do you do? How, scratch that, not you. How do I respond? What is my reaction to? What is my reaction to something that I have that is almost impossible not for me to react, not for anybody, but it's impossible for me not to have a reaction, a perspective, especially after all these years. But before I get to the reaction, I just want to do a little bit of introduction. Maybe some people are listening or finding me just for the first time. And I see, if you want to speak with me live, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619, and just press the number 1. You can watch me live on YouTube, streaming on my YouTube channel, Rebecca Norrington. I'm live, and I'm looking crazy. The Oregon climate, I mean, when I'm living in Oregon, my hair just shrinks up like what is it? Brillo pad. That's what I want to say. I mean, Brillo pad. Anyway, okay, let me just get to the introduction. Before I go on, every Saturday, except for I'm out of town, my son's out of town. Every Saturday, my son and I do a live show. It's called Mother and Son Making Sense Out of Nonsense Plus More. Mother and Son Making Sense Out of Nonsense Plus More. That's on my YouTube channel every Saturday at 9:15 Pacific Standard Time. 9:15 Pacific Standard Time. Happiness specialist. Well, you only know somebody when they're challenged. You only know someone when they're challenged. It is easy to be happy, go lucky, friendly, loving when everything is working out. But what do you do? What do you do when people that you love, or what do you do when people that you are acquainted with have totally different sides? And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Hold on a second. Let me just center this. Oh, look at that. I wonder if that's going to be good. Oh, that's a good look. Oh, the clock. What do you do? I mean, especially now when I say, what do you do? The premise of this show for the last 15 years, the classes that I teach called The Truth About Happiness. I've taught the classes in California, Oregon, and now in Las Vegas. The premise of the show is to share with audience, as many people that are inspired to listen, how do you maintain and sustain happiness? And let me be very clear. This happiness isn't, oh, I'm happy because something is happening. The happiness that I'm talking about is an energy. It's a personal vibration of peace and contentment, regardless of what happens. It has nothing, including assassination attempts, including anything that you can name that happens in this world. And I was listening to someone on YouTube, and he says, what you see with your eyes, whatever you perceive. Is that what he said? He said, your perception is everything. How you perceive the world. And that is an individual. It is an individual thing. I perceive that, well, naturally, because of my practice, I perceive the cup full, not half full, full. The world is in divine order. There is nothing happening by chance. This is a divine plan unfolding. And so my practice is, it's all in order. I know sometimes it sounds off and crazy, but that's what I practice, and that's what I believe, that's what I trust. Everything is in order. Everything is in order in nature. And so even this planet, even Earth has a destiny. And it's had a destiny since its creation. So, but when I talk about happiness and inner peace and contentment, inner peace, contentment, happiness are all practice skills. But what do you practice? Especially now. Thank you for asking. Let's get right to it. None of this fluff. Let me go to here. Now, if you want to speak with me, if you are on Blog Talk Radio and you want to speak with me live, just press the number 1. The number to call in live is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And let's get into it. I wrote notes. One of the things, scratch that. There are two entities. There is the ego. There is, let me do this. That's even better. Yeah, let me do this. Hello, coffee. I'm at Airbnb in Roseburg, Oregon. There is the ego that is constantly, that will not shut up with the thoughts, will not shut up with the stories, that is constantly discontented, constantly. And then there is the universal side, and you can feel the difference. You can energetically feel the difference between the two. The ego needs me to identify with it in order to survive. And how does the ego survive? How does my lower consciousness survive? How does the person survive? By believing the stories, by believing the thoughts, by thinking that there is separation. There is separation. There is no place for unity. That's its whole MO. We're not unified. We're not all the same. The murderer is not the same as the person murdered. What? What are you talking about? This is what I believe. The God, source, universe, higher power, whatever term you want to use, is living, expressing itself through me as a human. It's expressing itself through human form. And it happens to have, and the name is Rebecca Norrington. So it's the universe is expressing itself through this human form, which is called, which is named Rebecca Norrington. That's number one. Now you have another. Now I have another, which is the ego, which also expresses itself. But the ego has only one goal, one intention, one agenda, and that is to make me feel. Let me. Oh, hold on a second. Happened. Okay, now I'm back. Yeah, there's a little, Wi-Fi in different places. The Wi-Fi is a little off. I will say this. The ego is driven by separation. It needs to have a side. It needs to have a, it needs to have, it needs to, it is fed with separation. It is fed with, it is, meaning it is being fed with trying to convince that I am not anything other than my ego, that I am not anything other than this human form, I'm not anything other than that. I'm going to talk about the awakened versus the asleep. People that are awake and people that are asleep. Listen to the difference. The people that are, and I'm not judging, I'm describing, people on this planet that are asleep, have not been awakened, do not realize that they are God is living through them, do not realize that, and really attach to this attach to this humanness. They choose sides, and I'm going to add myself in that too. One of the most challenging practices is to let go of having a side. Let go of having a side. Oh, I have a side. Rebecca Norrington definitely has a side, has a preference. And that's one of the things when I say program for unhappiness, that's the name of my book that's out on Amazon right now. It's called Program for Unhappiness. And one of the program behaviors is to choose a side, have a preference. Democrats versus Republicans. Let's see. People that eat meat versus people that don't. I don't need to go on and on with that. We all get it. Let's get back to this political having a side. I definitely, when I say I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this human I. Definitely has a side. Definitely has a preference. But the problem with that, having a preference and having a side, never, and I mean never, ever, ever is able to be content. Contentment is impossible when you have a side, when you choose. And I'll give you some examples. If everybody, and I do have a preference. I mean, the people that, let's just go with the Trump people, the Biden people. I didn't see, but I've heard that there are some people that have already posted videos, celebratory videos, wishing that wishing that the assassination, that the attempted assassination was successful. You know, the celebratory, uh, the celebrating the doom of the side that you don't that you don't like or you don't prefer, celebrating the doom of that side. For instance, there are, I mean, come on, if you are not a Trump supporter, if you are a Biden supporter, there's a lot there. And if you are, oh, if you are asleep, you got that? If you hate Trump and you are asleep, you, I'm not going to say I'm not going to say have, you may have, yeah, good. Too bad they didn't kill him. Am I right? And if you were rooting, and if you are for Biden and the Trump supporters, if they attempted to shoot Biden, the Trump supporters, some of the Trump supporters, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but some of the Trump supporters would, yeah, kill him. So you follow me? Nobody's better than anyone else. And when I say better, I'm talking about vibrationally. That is a low vibration. There is a low vibration when, okay, let me just speak for myself. It is a low vibration if I cheer or I root for a certain side. And trust me, please trust me, my dear listener, my dear audience, that it is more than a notion, because my ego took a hold of me yesterday with all the thoughts. And if anybody in my family, and if anybody that are my friends, and if it's anybody that I know that tells me that they were happy about something or they were angry about something, I'm done. I'm ready to eliminate them. I'm just telling you what went on in my head yesterday with this all-consuming focus of choosing a side. What side are you on? And if you have a side, put your seatbelt on. And I'm really going to go in on this. If you have a side, you are asleep. If you have a side, you don't know the truth. If you have a side, you will never find contentment. If you want to speak with me live, the number is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. If you have a side, you are asleep. You are sleepwalking. You are 98% of the masses who operate from identify with the ego. Humans, people that practice, and it is a practice. I'm not saying I have it 100%. Hold on, let me get some water. Because that was one of the most difficult program behaviors that I knew something had to change. I remember in 2020, I mean, come on, this whole political choosing which one's right, which one's wrong. I just can't do it anymore because I'm not asleep. I am scratched. When I say I, I'm not talking about my ego. My higher self, the higher self doesn't choose, doesn't judge, is open to all possibilities. The shooter is the same as the person who got shot. What? The shooter is the same as the person who was shot. That's when you know you are awake. I'm not going to say enlightened. I'm just going to say awake. And awake to what? Awake to the truth. Let's really get into this. The ego, it has been one of the biggest challenges for me to let go of having of this because I grew up in an era, pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America. The flag means something. When people were burning the flag, I was bothered. When people hate America, I'm bothered. When I say I, you know which I am talking about. I'm not talking about my higher self. I'm talking about the lower self is bothered. Any symbolism that I attach myself to, is going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem for my contentment. It's going to be a problem for my okay, I just got that text. I only have one phone today. Is going to be a problem. Let me turn this off because I've got too many things. I don't want the ringer to go silent. Listen to this analogy and let me know if you're in the queue and you want to speak with me, just press the number 1. Let me know if you're going to follow, if you relate to this. You put 10 people on an island. How about this? You put 10. Okay, let me just step back a little bit. Let's just stay with the Republicans versus the Democrats. There are, even in the same party, Republicans versus the Democrats. Republicans. There is fighting, there is conflict, there is disagreement, there are arguments, there's conflict even inside the same party. Same with the Democrats. Same. If you put 10 people on an island, okay, how about this? We put 10 people on an island that all got along, that all were compatible energy. Sooner and if all 10 people are not awakened, are not awake, eventually those 10 people are going to fight amongst themselves. Eventually, because that's what the ego does. All people that are asleep choose a side. If I say that 10 times, I may say it 100 times. So know if you have a side. I'm speaking for myself. I'm speaking to myself. When I have a side, I'm acting as if I'm asleep. I've chosen a side. Listen, I'm still letting go of my side. I'm still softening it. And it has been a process of just the side falling off, letting go naturally, organically, in time, because my end goal is contentment. The end goal, the end intention, agenda is inner peace and contentment. Nothing else. And when I say, I mean, if you've listened to me, it is number 1. Contentment, inner peace is more important, is on a higher ranking than health, money, relationships, my only son. This contentment trumps, look at that. This contentment trumps everything. What isn't that interesting? Trumps everything. So I'm gonna say it again. You put 10 people on an island, and if they are not conscious, lack consciousness, and if they are not aware of the two sides, there is going to be conflict. Guaranteed. You see it racially. You see it. There's so many examples. People that are close, it goes into marriages. People that are close. And if you're not conscious and aware of a higher truth, eventually there's going to be a division. Fact. There's not from Black people fighting amongst themselves. I'm only using Black people because I'm Black. I mean, I see it. I'll share a story. When I was working at the Attorney General's office in Los Angeles, this was back in 1996. When I was working at the Attorney General's office, it was the start of Black History Month. I'll never forget Black History Month. But when I think when I started working, they didn't have a Black History Month, and then maybe a couple of years later, they implemented Black History Month. So the whole month of February, there were celebrations, there were different activities, different events, and there were two women that put it all together, and they were best friends. They worked on the same team. The first year, a lot of great events, a lot of information, just a lot of community. The second year, same. In the third year, these two women that started this Black History Month, meaning all of the events for the whole month of February, it was infighting. They couldn't get along. They didn't get it. It's just like a marriage. In the beginning, and I'm saying this, if you are asleep, if you are not conscious in the beginning, how many people you get married, and then in the beginning it's nice, and then after 20 years you hate each other. In fact, I have a few people that I know that are in marriages, and scratch that. My own parents couldn't stand each other. And they stayed married, but they couldn't stand each other after 50 plus years. Why? Because the ego lives on division. The ego cannot get enough of separation. The ego needs division, separation. It needs that. Back to, I know I'm pushing a lot of buttons here. Letting go. Okay, let's get back to the Trump and Biden. There are Biden people that are celebrating this attempted assassination. And don't think that there are Trump people that would celebrate anything that happened to, in fact, the celebration when the poor guy got up there for the debate and he was babbling, and you can see he's mentally incompetent. That's right, mentally incompetent. The Trump people were cheering. Look at him. Cheering the other's demise. Okay, that's it. That's what I want to say. Cheering someone else's demise. That means you have a side. That means that you don't understand. And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to me. These are conversations that that I've been sharing with myself. These are conversations that I have with myself. If I'm not claiming I am the world's leading happiness specialist, it's impossible. It's going to be impossible for me to choose a side, to have a side. That goes against everything that is universal, goes against everything that is source. The sun shines on the serial killer and the Pope. And I just asked the universe, how do I let go of my preferences? How do I let go of having a side? How do I let go? How do I get to a point of being accept? How do I accept all? The shooter? How do I, how? Ugh. And it's not, you can hear the struggle. You can hear the struggle, but I let it go. I let the struggle go, and I watch my ego struggle with it because it wants me to choose. My ego wants me to choose a side. And I have to say, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years, exactly 4 years ago, I was down. I knew, yeah, my side. This is my, this is the right side. I'm right. My reaction to the Trump assassination is, this is what my ego said to me. And I said it earlier. If there is one person who cheered and who tells me that they are, yeah, too bad they didn't hit him, my ego is ready to eliminate. If there is one person, and let's go to the Biden side, if there is one person, because my ego does have a side, if there is one person who is cheering the demise of what I believe, when I say I'm talking about the ego what my ego believes is right, because the truth is there is no right or wrong. You know what the solution for all of this is? This is crazy, but it's the truth. Is love. I choose love. Love is the answer. Acceptance is the answer for all of this. Am I there 100%? Does my ego kind of sneak in through the cracks? Sometimes. But the awareness is the work. The awareness is the work. And so what do I do now? I sit back, and again, am I going to focus on something that I have no control over? Absolutely no control over. You know, if I had control over this world, it would totally be different. We wouldn't be fighting over, there would be no fighting. It wouldn't be any fighting if I had control. But I don't. And just the history of the world, there's always been division. There's always been wars. There's always been me against you. And then this good against evil is good against evil. Isn't good against, what is good? What is evil? And that's what that's what I'm saying. I know it. I know. It's different. It's different. War against good and evil. When love is present, when universal love, when source love is present, there is no good or evil. My reaction, I had a lot of reactions to that. My first reaction was, thank God that, well, that's not true. Here we go. You see, okay, then I just remembered someone was murdered, someone was killed. But then all the focus goes on the big name. The person that was killed is, I don't even know if it was a man or a woman. Let me sit with that. Let me sit with that for a second. You know, I found this guy on YouTube just yesterday. I listened to his near-death experience. And this guy is the slowest talker. He just talks so slow, but talking slow. Hold on a second. Look at these quotes. Hold on a second. Let me find his quotes. And he's right. He says, he reads Earth like a book. He says, we don't see with our eyes, we see with our perception. Dissolve the concepts that separate you from yourself. When the persona is dissolved, you are the highest that you seek. You are everything that you seek. Isn't that fascinating? I hope you heard that, because I went to my text and I went from the phone to the text. So hopefully there wasn't just a gap in sound. At this stage, I'm refusing to allow my ego to take over and to have these thoughts to choose a side. The ego is all about separation. My ego is all about separation. And with separation, there is no contentment. There is no side to root for. I'm speaking for there is no side to root for. I can't root anymore. I'm rooting for contentment. I'm rooting for inner peace. I'm not rooting. I'm engaged in a totally different game. I'm not playing this human game anymore. Not the way that the masses, not the way that 98% of the population play it. I'm not playing that game anymore. And so my reaction is, one side is never better than another side. One side is never more moral than another side. In fact, that whole word moral is not any better. And if I'm serious about growth, I can't have a side. Back to the example of the 10 people, kumbaya on the island. And if they are not conscious, not able to be conscious, if they are programmed, the 10 people will eventually have conflict. And that's life, and that's war. That's life, that has had war forever. There's only 2%, probably less, of the 2% of population that even gets what I'm saying. But that energy, that level, that energy level is more powerful, it is stronger than any lower vibration. Love conquers all, is more powerful than anything, and will always prevail over the opposite. And that's my reaction. So with my ego's attempts to, if anybody says, if anybody says something and oh, you know what it is? Here we go. Let me give you another example. And thank you for hanging in there with me. I have a few people in the queue. Remember when O.J. Simpson was acquitted? Come on now. O.J. Simpson is a double murderer. Period. Too much evidence. But there are some people, I just heard it last week. There are some people that still believe that O.J. Simpson is innocent. I'm going back to that because oh my God, if you told me that you believe that O.J. Simpson was innocent back in the day, I lost friendships over that. Quote unquote friendships. I lost people over that. I wouldn't want to have anything to do with you. I wouldn't have anything to do with you. I lost a friendship that was probably over 20 years old. And that's the dilemma. What do you value? Do you value peace and contentment, or do you value choosing? And then I get a lot, well, it's human, it's natural. Well, you're asleep. Nothing wrong with being asleep, because you will eventually wake up. We all do. We are all avocados. But some of us are just ripe. Some of us, it's just time. The spiritual people, masses choose a side. Spiritual people. Now, I'm just trying. Look, these are all. Look at my notes that I was scribbling. I was scribbling before the show. Look at this. Where's the camera? It's right here. I'm scribbling. I'm looking at I can't even read my own writing. Shooter is the same as shooter. Ego is driven. Fighting amongst yourself. Spiritual people become awakened, and the masses choose a side. The ego drives you to choose a side. The ego is into separation, and the awakened understand that this is the awakened understand that we are the whole. The awakened understand, awakened versus sleep. The awakened understand that this there is no side. It's all one. It's all one. And that's all I have for today. Anyone, listen, if you want to call and speak with me live, or you want to chat with me on YouTube, I see some people watching. The number to call in is area code 646-564-9619, but it's totally up to you. In summation, not to just keep belaboring it, if you have a side, if you have a preference, if you think something is better than the other, you are asleep. No offense. And with that being asleep, contentment is going to be fleeting. Contentment is going to be contentment is going to be impossible to maintain. I promise you. Well, I thought I was only going to talk for 15 minutes. And look at this. She sure does talk a lot. And look at this. Reality Spirituality, that's the end of today's show. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. My website is RebeccaNorrington.com. Follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. LinkedIn. My Instagram handle is Reality Spirituality. My YouTube channel is a work in progress, but feel free to check it out. In fact, I have some new content that's going to be coming out. Again, my son and I do a show every Saturday morning on my YouTube channel. It's called Mother and Son Making Sense Out of Nonsense, plus more, every Saturday morning, 9:15 Pacific Standard Time. And if you have a side, and in fact, one of my friends here in Oregon texted me, and she said, the left, they're so evil. The left is evil. So clearly, this person is asleep. No judgment, but if you have a side, you are asleep. And I'm awake. Reality Spirituality is going to be my first book. Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon. And the chapter I wrote, scratch that. I'm not even going to read any of this stuff. My second book currently is on Amazon. It's called Programmed for Unhappiness, Exposing the Untold Truth. It is on Amazon right now. It's going to be a bestseller. Scratch that. It is a bestseller in my mind. Until next time, my dear audience, I want you to remember who the hell you are. Scratch it. Let me get back to this book. It is bestseller. Let me say this. 15 years ago, when I started this show, 15 years ago, I was complaining to the universe that nobody was listening. Sometimes I would have one person listen. Plenty of weeks I had nobody listening. So I was complaining. Universe, nobody's listening to my show. Nobody's listening. And the universe hit me back with, we're listening. Isn't that enough? So this book that I wrote, Program for Unhappiness, Exposing the Untold Truth, that's on Amazon. It doesn't matter if I sell one copy or if I sell 0 copies. That book was inspired. It was something that had to get out, and it took about 7 years to get that out. Let me get to the end of the show. Until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. Your conscious energy, which is always evolving, always changing. Love is patient and love is kind. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. And you are more than your name. You're more than your identity. You're more than your culture. You're more than your religion. You're more than your race. Your human consciousness, your God consciousness having a human experience. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, Happiness Specialist. You know my name. And remember that happiness is a practice skill. And I promise you, the more peace you're going to find depends on what you practice. Have a conscious week, and I will talk to you next week. And let's go with the song. Here we go.
Yeah, we sound real. Oh, yeah. Spirituality. It's a new experience. Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one. Real.